Hello everyone and welcome to game 1 of round 1 of Modern Retro versus Eternal. We have Jukebox playing the Oni for Modern Retro, and right off the bat spotting a couple survivors. And this is going to be Sir Pickle. Not in the best spot. Luckily there is this seawall pallet here, gets thrown immediately, so it isn't going to be that instant first hit. But looking at Jukebox's build right off the bat, it seems like Jukebox knows how to deal with pallets in windows and being able to get that first hit. The brutal strength bamboozle, very chase heavy, and this is a confident build, not bringing that much in the way of slowdowns.
Yeah, that is going to be a very, very confident build here, knowing that he needs to deal with very confident chases here from Team Eternal, but it is a trade-off, right? As you mentioned, no slowdowns, you only focus the resources. You do need the quick down even more if you run this perk combination, because you need the pressure from healing and from the Anox. If that's going to work out is the question here. Our killer is going back towards the circus, trying to find a survivor, potentially in a dead zone, in a difficult spot to get that hit a little bit faster, and there are some scratch marks here. But Claudette, that's going to be Royalty in chase, but there is some distance. That is going to be the next pallet, easily reached without any struggle. Royalty winning the mind games for now is going to drop it early. Brutal strength is going to remove this pallet a little bit quicker from the trial, but Royalty still with resources here on the circus part. We are also a little bit away from the other active generators. Not the best spot to chase, because down there is corrupt intervention. Eternal, usually you want to chase in that corrupted area, getting the pressure a little bit higher, so Royalty not in the best spot. But main generator is being done, a very important objective on Father Campbell's Chapel, as you can chain it into multiple setups, and Royalty still not losing his confidence here, wonderfully playing on these mind games, and that is going to be potentially the next pallet being dropped after another round. So Eternal leaving a very good first impression here.
Yeah, and it's been so long and Jukebox still hasn't been able to get this first hit. All the survivors, first Sir Pickle, now Royalty, doing great job in these chases, even playing around this unsafe pallet, avoiding that first hit. Jukebox now has that bloodlust, is just trying absolutely anything to get that first hit, that ever important first hit. There it is. And finally Jukebox will be able to get a bit of that power, but 2 gens are already completed, and you finally get the power. Yay. But now corrupt is gone, 2 generators down, you don't have a hook, and you're just being able to start to play this game. And we are gonna get into a chase with Sir Pickle with that power. The blind does come in, and we should be seeing a bit of the demon dash. The question is going to be, does it hit Sir Pickle? There's no pallet here. Just Sir Pickle just trying to do what he can. Hops in the locker to immediately to force Jukebox to lose the power. Some locker jukes, manages to get a little bit of distance. 2 more generators get completed, and this is the risk you take when you don't bring any slowdown. But unfortunately, at the same time, you kind of had to bring brutal strength bamboozle, because the survivors of Eternal, they know how to run an M1 killer very well. So you finally get your first hook. There's 1 generator left. The question is going to be, how can you compound this pressure into more hooks and possibly a 4K?
Especially with that generator being all the way at the bottom. Not only that Eternal is getting the 4 generators out in a speed run after a fantastic chase of Royalty, they also set up the most beautiful 3-gen setup that could be created all the way down there towards the bottom side. That is nothing you can work as the killer. He's trying to put some pressure onto these survivors. He's using the power to go all the way down, and the call out actually coming in quite late. Royalty is leaving the generator too late. The firecracker is going to be some blindness, but we see some confidence being taken here from our ace. Going the stun, now's the question, do you just go for the pickup onto Royalty, or do you already start trying to get the fresh survivors as with our 3-2 scoring? That would be an important extra point here. Z-wall action from edge map Andy. There's the firecracker coming in from our survivor. This is going to be the blind, so it was actually the flashlight beforehand. So this is going to be now a difficult decision. Is Royalty going to receive the pickup? That's going to be the case, and our survivor is not making it far. Zaka going down into the adrenaline play by Eternal here. What looked like a messed up heal is actually turning out as a fantastic endgame strategy, and there's a no one escapes death, but 3 survivors are injured anyway, and someone will already sit on the door at the top side. It's open. Will this might be a 4-man escape?
I mean, I don't think it's gonna... Okay, we do have Sir Pickle coming in for the body block, knows the value of refusing another down, but there's the Noed. Nightlight goes down, and I imagine... Wait, I don't know if Deliverance is allowed. If Deliverance is allowed, this could be a Deliverance play. Oh, wait, but with all the survivors gone, yeah. Okay, forget I was saying anything. It is going to be the kill onto Nightlight, and that is going to be a 4-stage game. And one of those kills was free because of the Noed. So having only one other hook, that's not a good start to this matchup, because we know Zaka is going to come out and probably work some magic on the killer side. But I have to say, what an incredible performance from the survivors of Eternal, setting themselves up for success in this very short game.
Absolutely impressive. Enjoyable to watch. Fantastic mind games, staying confident, and then, as you mentioned, the no one escapes death is the reason why we have the 4 stages. It would have been only 1 stage, and that is something Eternal is going to take out of this match. They are gonna say, okay, it was a 1-stage game with some unlucky event with the no one escapes death, and I think that's also how it's gonna feel for Jukebox on the side of Modern Retro. It's gonna feel like a 1-stage game, and you luckily were able to keep Nightlight there, who is dying as the hero here for his teammates. So the pressure is clear. Eternal is doing typical Eternal things. It's going to be 18-10 here, so a huge lead for Eternal, considering that we have 28 points for the killer and 22 for the survivors. So very impressive first trial. The pressure is clear. Modern Retro needs to show us a very good survivor game, an even more perfect survivor game, and if they are able to do that, is what we are going to show you after a short break.
Hello everyone, and welcome to game 2. We have Zaka playing an almost identical build, trading the no way out, trading the Noed for no way out. Other than that, same build, and already in a chase with Jukebox. Bamboozle on the window. The Shack Pallet's gonna have to get dropped to deny that first hit, and that is very strong. Getting the Shack Pallet out of the way right off the bat, and Jukebox has a bit of a ways to go before getting anywhere, but should be able to make it to this pallet before taking the hit. And it is going to be the pre-drop. Zaka playing a bit of the standstill mind game, manages to get the first hit, and this is not what you wanted if you are Modern Retro right now.
No, when we loaded into this match, we just said there needs to be a perfect run in the end, in the early game, potentially a 5-gen run, and this is far away from a 5-gen run, and it's also not going to be a long one, as Jukebox is already deciding to go into a map corner here. Zaka wonderfully zoning that survivor into the absolute nowhere. So this is going to be a little bit of time being lost due to chasing in the corrupt area and having a little bit of distance towards the next hook, but it is going to be the first stage already. Modern Retro has picked up the efficiency. They have 3 generators over the 50% mark. 2 of them are going to be finished very soon here, so they have done their job, but it is going to be rough to meet that win condition with 4 stages here. Zaka looking around at the shack, trying to find a potential rescue, but now he's going to receive the information that the survivors are actually on the generators cross map from the hook. So he's just going into main, has the power ready to go. So you can go for a camp, and as soon as you do see a rescuer coming in, you can go for that power, and that is the chance for a snowball.
Yeah, and additionally, we could see, Zaka does have a 3-gen here. I was gonna say we could see Jukebox just getting camped to death, and then Survivors of Modern Retro just letting it happen and then working on these generators. But when you have this sort of 3-gen and Zaka with his power, it becomes a lot more dangerous. Because, it looks like Zaka is gonna commit to the chase, gonna confirm the entity summoned, and then just go for another survivor. That is going to be applied to Forehead, taking the M1. And just Zaka gonna be going back to the hook, gonna try and secure the kill. Pops the power onto Keeperly, going around the long way, possibly getting the hit here. And with that demon dash movement speed, Akito's crutch giving that extra dash speed, able to catch up before Keeperly can get to the pallet. And it looks like Apply is going to be going down. Ooh, not quite. It is going to be close. But Apply needs to stay alive as long as possible. You can't get into the situation where Shiro is the only survivor left up. And that is exactly what happens. This is looking really bad for Modern Retro.
A lot of pressure on the shoulders of Shiro, getting the unhook there onto Jukebox. They have to pick up Keeperly as well. It's the second stack of No Way Out, so Zaka also making sure that the end game is going to take a little bit longer. But the question at this point is if Modern Retro is even going into the end game here, because there's a lot of work needed. We need some resets. We do need this pull from the basement in order to meet the win condition, and we need a good run from Jukebox once again. It's going to be a TNL as a resource, not the safest tile to play around. Bamboozle with the double vault. Is Zaka going for a triple? No, that's not needed here. Bamboozle is going to do the needed work. In the meanwhile, we do see the rescue from the basement, but Zaka doesn't care too much. Is just going for the fourth hook stage here, pushing himself closer towards the win condition. That means one more hook in this game, or Jukebox is he actually going to be yeah, he is going to be eliminated. I was right on that. So any additional stage that is coming in for Zaka here means that Eternal is going to take set number 1 here. We do have a No Way Out in the back pocket. We have one generator to go, and somewhere on this map there is going to be a ton of blood, as the resets have not happened yet. We see them all the way at the circus, the blood pools revealing their location here. Kate is in the main building, Claudette is going to be in chase, and once again, this is not the best place and doesn't offer the most resources.
Yeah, Keeperly should just be going down here. Ooh, Zaka not 100% confident that that dash was going to hit, but does manage to get just the lunge off anyway. So Keeperly goes down, there's the pickup, and the hook is right here, spelling the victory for Eternal here in round 1, and that is a lot of blood. So Zaka instantly with that power back up. I will say this isn't the worst situation for Modern Retro, because we are going to be playing it out, and there is no 3-gen that Zaka can defend. So if you can avoid getting 4K'd here, you might be going into the next round with not the crushing moral defeat of having been 4K'd.
Yeah, and I think that's important for Modern Retro here, especially since it's going to be the Plague set where you have good chances. Nice move here by the Kate, forcing Zaka into playing Minecraft on the tree there. So it is going to be a little bit of a longer chase here. Bamboozle is coming in on this window, and Zaka keeping it safe, not trying to go for the dash, instead just taking a little bit of extra time here. Shiro is going down. It's going to be a dry kick onto this generator here. Zaka going for the hook stages, knowing now that he has a little bit of a longer time, because Keeperly just received the reset, and since the healing and second chance perks are almost all banned against the Oni, that means that Keeperly and Apply to Forward have been teaming up. We do have a spectator bug. Keeperly is going to be our new object to spectate here, hiding at the circus, trying to maybe make sure that he can go for a generator without being watched by Zaka. Apply to Forehead is going around the shack, so both of them are now splitting up cross map. This is a generator with 30%, so you have a little bit of progress going for you. Keeperly still keeping it safe here, potentially looking for the unhook as soon as Zaka is moving a little bit too far away from the hook. It's Apply and Keeperly now going to communicate really carefully here of what Zaka is doing, but especially if Keeperly would be seen, that's going to be difficult. The power is coming through from Zaka because there's the rescue, and one of them very likely going down here. It is going to be Keeperly in chase, and this was a beautiful avoiding of the Kate there that was trying to take a borrowed time hit, and Zaka feeling confident at this point, wants to go for more, breaking this pallet here. Kate is going to take a little bit of distance, but if this run is staying up for a little bit longer, that's going to be generator number 5.
Yeah, and a nice stun onto Zaka as well. Shiro staying alive just a little bit longer. There's going to be the pallet getting broken though, and there isn't going to be much left. We do see Shiro just running to the edge of the map as far away as possible, and Zaka no longer has that power, isn't going to be able to stop the last generator from getting done across the map. There it is. However, there is a no way out, and that is going to be very difficult to navigate when you have 2 survivors who are slugged on the ground. We do see Zaka just going for the pickup though, so Apply could very easily at least activate that no way out if they so choose, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
Tough scenario here for Apply to forehead. No way out with 4 stacked. That's going to be an extra minute for Zaka here, and he is keeping an eye out, kinda predicting that a survivor would cross towards the exit gate over there. We do see one survivor leaving, crawling away, trying to also take some points from Eternal. We talked about this is the chance you have now, pushing the score into a little bit of a better light and into a little bit of a better situation for trial number 2. It's all about creating a good mindset now for the play. Keeperly very soon going to die here. I don't see a chance to save him, but if Shiro is crawling far away, that's going to waste some time from Zaka and potentially some points. We do see that Apply to Forward is actually waiting at the shack, potentially setting up for the hatch to avoid the no way out here, but Zaka is also going to check at the hatch first after hooking that survivor. Yet it's going to be quite some distance here. Apply to Forward is going to pick these boxes as the new hiding spot. Zaka is trying to find the slugged Shiro, and Shiro has done a good job already crawling away, so that's going to be quite some distance and potentially staying undetected. And if Shiro is moving a little bit further, that might be a pickup, and that would be a completely different pressure at the doors with 2 survivors.
Yeah, right now Shiro getting away is absolutely massive. I do think that Hope had a little bit to do with it. I'm not exactly sure how the interaction worked, but from my understanding, that haste status effect still applies when you are slugged, giving that extra little bit of movement speed on the ground. And we are going to have Apply just casually walking over to where the pickup is, but Zaka's here, so he has to make a move, and he has to make a move now. This is going to be Zaka finding Apply just in time. Is going to be able to get that power, so a lot of this pressure is a lot of pressure that Mon Retro could have had is going to be diminished by the immense pressure that Zaka has with this power, with the Demon Dash, with the insta down. And we do see Shiro in a little bit of a chase. Zaka getting stuck on the tree, and Shiro still here, gets the stun onto Zaka, doesn't attempt to go for the blind, as well as instead just gonna take that distance and get as far away as possible. A nice little juke forces Zaka to miss, and this no way out is halfway gone. This is a really good chase for Shiro and a good step towards getting one, maybe both of these survivors out of the gates.
Every second feels like an hour right now for this survivor here in chase, but doing such a good job buying time for his teammate. And Now, no way out with 5 seconds remaining. Very soon you can go for the exit gate, so 16 seconds
Gyro ran the
remaining
whole power.
afterward, and there's going to be the entire power in Minecraft gaming once again here. +5 wood and +5 wood once again. Shiro shining in the end game, and that's what Modern Retro was looking for. Yeah, you lost set number 1, and yeah, you lost it quite clear, but getting a survivor out of the doors here with such an impressive end game, that is really proving the potential of Modern Retro and why you are still with the chance to even go into, or why you had the chance to go into the playoffs with this one set going to Eternal. That's not going to come through anymore, but for the overall game here, and for maybe pulling a surprise against Eternal at the last game in Season 7. That was absolutely phenomenal. Shiro, the MVP here for me, and that's going to put so much confidence into his team.
Yeah, that was an amazing run from Shiro at the end. I'm looking at the scoreboard at the end of the screen. Shiro had the most blood points in that trial on the Survivor team. But that was a really good chase to end things off. Even though you lost that round, between you not getting 4K'd and that great last chase, it's not like you're going to be entering round number 2 having been 4K'd, feeling defeated. Obviously, you still need to recoup after losing the round, but you still have some of that momentum of, we just had this amazing chase. We got survivors out the door. Just not being completely and totally obliterated by a 4K makes a whole lot of a difference in mentality going into round number 2. Speaking of round number 2, I imagine we're going to be sitting in the same lobby, seeing as how I back out and everyone is still here. So that tells me we're going to have round number 2 for you very quickly right after the break. Hello everyone, and welcome back. We have round 2 of Modern Retro versus Eternal, and we've got the same rosters here. We got Zaka playing the Plague against Shiro, Apply, Keeperly, and Jukebox, and we're on Plague this time around. I almost didn't notice that somehow. And once again, we're seeing Zaka not bringing that corrupt intervention. This is something we've been seeing more and more recently, specifically on this killer, where killers just don't bring corrupt intervention. Jukebox fakes the window, and it doesn't buy a whole lot of distance. Ooh, but I was gonna say it buys enough to get around once, but not quite. Jukebox does go down. 5 generators left to go, and this is a very strong start for Zaka. Although, given that Zaka doesn't have that corrupt, wasn't able to puke on all the generators, yeah, these survivors are getting some work done.
Yeah, tough for Jukebox though. It's the second early game that doesn't really work out for him. Not his day in terms of the early games here, I'm afraid. And this is now going to be a hill hook with the power pool straight next to it. Zaka feels really good with this one. You can watch your 3-gen here on the top side. You can just go for the power when you need it as soon as you see a survivor. And look at this beautiful overview you have from here. Yeah, he's going to lose some generators, but I don't think Zaka worries too much, because this could potentially be a camp all the way into the elimination. The survivors will not be able to cross towards the top side without being seen. There's the power pool right next to it if they pull something too risky. So Zaka has everything to force it into a 3v1 here, and you would still have a guaranteed 3-gen.
Yeah, I mean, who needs corrupt when you have a hill with a hooked survivor, a view of the choke point of the map, and a corrupt pool? Like, who needs corrupt when you have RNG like this? I mean, there's no reason for Zaka to not just go for the kill onto Jukebox. No reason whatsoever. You still have your ruin up. If you really wanted to, and for some reason you're across the map, you can place down your Pentimento. You still have the Thanatophobia. I imagine a lot of the next couple minutes is just gonna be the survivors taking their time figuring out a plan. What do we do? And we see Zaka. Wow, that is some range on the puke. I didn't. Zaka just spamming the mouse left and right, and that is pretty much just covering the entirety of this choke point. Jukebox dead on hook. 1 generator left, and Zaka has a 3-gen with a ruin.
That was a very short and unfortunate game for Jukebox here, and Zaka now with his 3-gen on the top side. The only good news for Modern Retro is that none of these generators is really far in the back. We don't have the typical generator behind main, so the mid is something you can access really easy, especially here on the top right side. It's not that far towards the mid section, but that's only a mini good news facing these RNG conditions. Zaka, however, made a wonderful play out of it. You need to take the value out of a good RNG. This is going to be the hit onto the Nia together with the infection. There's going to be the Hex, Ruin, and Thrill of the Hunt now being cleansed. That is going to give you access to a Pentimento though. So 30% slowdown going to be on in the trial really soon. And with this Pentimento totem then being located here at the top side, that's also going to be difficult for the Survivor team to cleanse that. Kate at the moment, the only remaining Survivor that is still fully healthy. Zaka is going to use the power as an information tool, getting an info whenever Kate is hopping on a generator here. So this is going to be tough for Modern Retro, and at this point you might consider going all the way back towards the bottom side and go for the cleanse here. 1 Survivor is already doing that. Wouldn't be surprised if Keeperly is going to do the same, and then just all of them coming back here. Important is that you survive this power though, because if Zaka is able to get a quick down, especially a down in the mid section that is located towards the top side, that would be really difficult here. Kate with a good juke on the power, but then getting mind gamed here, but Zaka not able to find the hit with the power. So Modern Retro doing a good job right here. They need to survive this power, then potentially going for a reset, and then coming back towards the top side all together.
Yeah, you mentioned that they need to survive this power. It's going to be a lot easier because we do have Zaka bringing the double apple instead of the Devotee's amulet. So that is going to be 20 seconds that you don't have to worry about Zaka having this corrupt purge. I will say I'm a little surprised that Zaka waited so long to grab the first corrupt pool, given that you did bring the double apple add-ons. But it seems to be working. The Survivors of Modern Retro can't really get anything done at the moment, and just like that, the corrupt purge has run out. I imagine we'll be seeing Keeperly cleansing sometime in the near future. But yeah, let's take a look at see what the Survivors are doing. A whole lot of nothing. That's what they're doing. Just a whole lot of nothing.
I was about to say that was not the impression I wanted to get when you said let's see what the Survivors are doing. I was hoping that one of them maybe sneaked behind Zaka and was working on one of these generators, but it is really tough. And Will, I know you had to solo cast the 31-minute play game that I've spectated over the last week, and this might be another one. The setup is there.
The setup's there, but regarding that 31-minute game, I talked to chat that day because it was a more informal day because everything was pre-recorded and it was just me. We made the executive decision to put it in double speed once it got to that 3-gen.
You had that option.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Hey, at least this time you have someone to talk to while we just wait. It seems like the Survivors, they know that if they just keep cleansing, it is going to be a little futile because they are just going to keep getting infected. So it seems like they're just going to commit to just do the gens, hold that M1, or with the whole interaction thing, you don't even have to hold M1 anymore. You just sit there and hit skill checks. And it does look like the Survivors are doing a pretty good job of pressuring these generators, to say the very least. Obviously, Shiro was working on that gen top left, and then we have, I believe it was Keeperly working on the generator top right by the mid-map. But this is Apply getting caught out of position. Does manage to get to the window, Zaka with a bit of a mind game, doesn't manage to force the double vault from Apply. This pallet is no longer here. Zaka going to be vaulting the window of the fun bus. And some more mind games. Apply doing a good job winning these 50-50s, but it's only a matter of time before that window gets blocked off, and Apply knows this as well. He's going to be running towards this 4 lane. The question is, do they make it to the pallet? No, they do not, but we could see a potential pallet save. No pallet save.
Unfortunately, there was a good chance, and that was basically the last chance to prevent getting the survivor hooked here at the top side, and that is really not what you want to see happening. The first time Kate was caught out, she did a really good job. Then unfortunately Apply vaulting in the fun bus a little bit too often and keeping the mind game only at that tile. This is going to be punished by Zaka, and now you do have your wonderful setup once again. You have to 3-gen, you have a power pool nearby, potentially you could even add a Pentimento stack back there on the top left side, so this might be an option for Zaka really soon, because this generator here at the top right side has actually an impressive amount of pressure. So Modern Retro knows how to do this. They know when to be careful and when they have some time to go for the commitment here. It's going to be Keeperly going down more towards the top side, so Zaka can bring the survivor further into his setup here, and that also increases the distance the survivors need to take towards the safe mid tiles after getting the unhook here. So things are getting more and more difficult here. You also don't have pools anymore to go for the cleanse. That's going to be another difficulty here. You are all the time broken, and just 1m1 will be enough to keep you under control here. There's another survivor around, and this is enough for Zaka to decide that the power has to be picked up, and I do believe the survivor didn't make it that far. They're still here on this TNL, and this TNL is right next to the hooked survivor. So if this is going to end in a down, which it will be, then Modern Retro in a very difficult spot. Our survivor applied to 4. It is all the way at the bottom side, and at this point it's the difficult decision between going for anything risky here, an unhook, a pickup, or maybe even setting up for the end game.
Yeah, and we know Apply is just past the fun bus, and with Zaka sitting on this hill, it's going to be difficult for Apply to move anywhere realistically. And this is the same situation we had last game as well, where Shiro was on the ground, Keeperly sitting on the hook, Jukebox dead, and Apply being the only survivor remaining. Exact same situation, obviously different map and all that. And we do see Zaka going for the pickup onto Shiro. And it's going to be the question of, does Apply get to do anything? It's a really long ways away. Shiro manages to get out of the killer's grasp. Tenacity flip-flop combo. A very strong combo, to say the very least. Has gotten a few plays this season. Nothing ridiculous. But now...
I was just saying I feel bad for Modern Retro a little bit, because Plague was supposed to be their set, right? And I feel like from what they are showing right now, the theory and the gameplay is there. They were just not able to execute it really.
Yeah, and with Keeperly dying, it becomes a little bit more difficult for the survivors of Modern Retro to do anything. Apply goes down, and it's all going to be up to Shiro. Although, with all of the survivors dying on this side of the map, you could potentially force something to happen where, like, I don't know, you force yourself to go down in the hook dead zone so that way you get out basically every time. But that isn't going to be the case. We see Shiro and Zaka already starting the 1v1. The question is... Okay, it's not even a question at this point. It should just be... Ooh, a nice stun from Shiro. And smash hit is going to allow Shiro to get to the killer shack. We should see it. We should be seeing a hatch play. Zaka and Shiro go two different directions, but who gets there first? It's going to be Shiro.
Whoa.
And Shiro escapes. That is so important.
Wait, was Shiro Shiro was the one in the Oni set, right? With the impressive end game.
Yeah,
was
Shiro
Shiro-
again coming up huge. I don't think we have these scores in just yet, but that hatch escape is going to be huge.
It's gonna change a lot, yes. So Eternal now also with a different win condition, I think, because Eternal now, if I'm not mistaken, they definitely need an escape in their survivor game. And talking about that, coming back to the campfire chat, what we discussed earlier, last time they lost against the Plague, Eternal had a very, very bad end game, and things switched from, I believe, 5 stages to a 4K. And if you now need an escape in your survivor game, that's going to be a huge chance for Modern Retro here, actually.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the score with our wonderful match staff doing some magic. The final score at the end of that round was 11 points for Modern Retro. Shiro had been completely unhooked, so 8 points from the generators, 3 from the escape through the hatch. And then Zaka got 21 points for Team Eternal. So, relatively low scoring round. Typically, we don't see that low of a score from both sides. Typically, it's like 28 to 8, where it's like a 4K. We don't see scores this low, typically. So, it's going to be interesting to see what the survivors of Eternal can do when we get back from the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome to trial number 4 and what could be our last trial. And we have Jukebox playing the killer against the survivors of Team Eternal. The only difference I'm seeing in Eternal survivor roster is they have Bubbazaver in instead of Sir Pickle. And yeah, it's going to be the more traditional slow start. We do have that Thanatophobia, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Corrupt this time. So we are going to have those 3 generators near the main building being blocked off. Jukebox just looking around, trying to find someone, trying to get this game started. The survivors of Eternal, though, I imagine they're playing pretty stealthy. They're just trying not to get caught. Nightlight with a close call doesn't get spotted. Bubbazaver and Zaka making their way to the bottom side of the map to start working on those generators. And that's all I've got to say for the slow start we're seeing.
Yeah, interesting by Eternal here to keep it that slow. Usually we do see them being really aggressive on the generators. 2 of them made their way down, and it's actually interesting to see that they haven't started working on these generators yet. They just cross to then hide down here, and this is pretty much a dream start. If you have 2 survivors on the bottom side and 2 survivors on the top side, and in just a few seconds Corrupt Intervention is going to give access to all 7 generators, then you can apply maximum pressure basically, and our killer won't be able to defend both sides. So that's going to be really, really tough. In 10 seconds Eternal is gonna run towards these generators and is going to start. We already see a few percentages being here. So our killer is now going to search for that survivor, is going to chase here at the top side, and we have seen Bubbazaver and Zaka going towards the bottom side. So they are going to start working on these generators, and Jukebox is not in the best spot here.
I mean, you say Jukebox not in the best spot. However, I'd like to beg to differ. We do have some very similar RNG that Zaka had with that hill right by that little choke point of this map. That said, this is a 4-gen on this side of the map, and if Jukebox loses 3 gens on the shack side of the map, that's not going to be too big of an issue. Sure, you have your corrupt pools over there, but for defending a 4-gen, that's actually not a bad thing either, because that's last places for the survivors of Team Eternal to cleanse. That said, we do see Jukebox coming over here trying to slow down the progress on these generators. Modern Retro needs 10 hook stages on this killer round if they want to win, assuming Eternal finishes all the generators. So Jukebox really needs to pick up the pressure a little bit and I mean, so far, the survivors of Eternal are doing a great job of preventing that just by not being seen. Stealth is a rather underrated aspect of this game, but it can be so impactful, especially against killers like Plague.
Yeah, especially against killers like Plague that are usually taking the pressure from infecting multiple survivors across the board, then often coming in with a combination of Thanatophobia to get that additional slowdown. This is also denied here. Not only that Eternal took the entire corrupt intervention from Jukebox, there's also no value out of Thanatophobia. Pop goes to Weasel, requires a hook stage, but this is going to be a Nightlight being found here at the top side, and that's a very short chase. Nightlight going down in 10 seconds here, and that's going to be a really quick hook stage. Really good work by Jukebox for Modern Retro. That's the pressure you're looking for. That's the break out of the pressure you were hoping for. Royalty is close by, not working on a generator as he is stealthing for the save. That's a good strategy here, trying to make sure that Jukebox can't control everything around the hook area, but so far we only have one generator being completed really soon. So the question is going to be, was Eternal maybe keeping it a little bit too slow? Because if you then have a really quick down like on Nightlight here, things can really turn around. And with Jukebox staying here at the top side, it's also Royalty being taken out of the game, who is potentially still hiding behind one of these boxes or trees. Yeah, there he is. So Royalty not doing anything for the past 45 seconds here. Only one, maybe a second generator being completed. There's the save now, but Eternal is going to need a good chase after Nightlight's quick down here.
Yeah, and oh, unfortunately Jukebox unable to wait out that borrowed time. I will say, I do think Jukebox should have taken the time. You know that Nightlight has the borrowed time, so maybe just take the time and puke on him and get that infection started. But we do have the infection onto Royalty. That's gonna be the first survivor being infected this whole game. I will say, I was questioning that pickup onto the Corrupt's Purge at the beginning there, but it seems to have worked out, and you're currently 10% towards your win condition. You have to get 10 stages in order to win. And we do see the generators on the shack side of the map getting completed. If you're Jukebox, this is what you want. You want to just hold this 4gen here on the main building side of the map and just get as much work done here to slow the game down. And there is generator number 3 being completed across the way. And now this is Jukebox's dream scenario. We do see the attempt at the long range vomit, not quite gonna hit anything. Royalty finally taking that infection damage, and it looks like Jukebox is pressing up a little bit. It might be a little bit of a risk considering a survivor could be working on a generator, but it looks like that is, oh, that is the case. Zaka still over on this main building side of the map. Jukebox thinks all 4 survivors are across the way, but Zaka is working on that gen that we are kind of looking at right now. And Jukebox isn't going over to check. That's a huge risk.
Especially with Eternal being able to go for full reset now, it's going to be a little bit tricky here for Jukebox. Zaka is going to take a quick infection though, working on this generator over here. We do see some scratch marks here at the top left as well. So the survivors also with some resources still. That's something Jukebox needs to take out of the game here. He is zoning the survivor towards the top side, but our survivor is just going to hold a W here on the corner. Bubazavra is going to take the infection, and Jukebox is rotating back towards the main building, trying to make sure that there's no progress being achieved for free. Royalty taking the infection, Nightlight being here at the top side as well. They have another generator ready to go very soon. That's the one on the bottom side, and then we are facing the good setup here on the top side. So this is going to be tricky for Eternal as well. They need full coordination full communication here as well. It's going to be the chase at the... Wait, is that a 4-gen here on the top side? Have I been looking wrong?
It was a 4-gen, but they did they did just complete one of the generators. It's Jukebox maybe just tactically ignoring that generator. It wants to play around this 3-gen here, which makes sense because this is a very tight 3-gen, and by losing that generator all the way to the top right, you don't have to worry about it anymore. And as we see, all 4 survivors are infected. 3 of them are full infection, and Nightlight gets full infected. I'm not sure if that was an attempt at a dump tech or just going for a live play there. I'm guessing it was the latter of the two, but now all 4 survivors are fully infected and broken. That is going to be 20% slowdown on that Thanatophobia, and this is going to be Bubbazover getting caught out and not a whole lot to work with here. You have this pallet here, and that is going to be about it. Jukebox gonna break this pallet and just gonna rotate away, trying to protect these generators. Eternal doing a really good job at cracking this 3-gen. Jukebox only has 1 hook. You need to get 9 more in order to win.
Plague is always trying to make an analyze here. Plague is always an interesting killer because if you look onto these stages, you would say like, wow, Eternal is smashing it, Jukebox doesn't get the pressure in, and I was really pessimistic at the start as well. But with all these survivors being infected, 3 survivors being infected, and the good generator setup here at the top side, if you manage to get one of them towards the top side, zoning them to the top side, getting a hook stage there, or making a good move with the power, the game will completely change. And that's the really difficult thing here right now. Jukebox really doesn't want to overcommit onto any chase here, doesn't want to allow Eternal to hop on the generators. Eternal, on the other hand, needs to be really careful that they are watching themselves, that they are not taking too many steps into Jukebox setup here, especially not when he has the power. I wouldn't even be surprised if Eternal is pulling fully back towards the bottom side, just waiting out the power here. Even that would be a really common strategy. Bubbazover is escaping the power here as well. We do have Royalty now as the only healthy survivor. So Eternal knows how to play this. They are doing a good job so far. Jukebox might need to take a little bit more risk here, because so far Eternal survivors are not giving him what he needs, and that is this hook stage towards the top side. So you might need to take a little bit more risk on the next chase, but it's going to be a difficult judgment.
Yeah, and it is going to be difficult for Jukebox. You had the 1 hook stage early on top side, and you weren't able to force the kill, or even the 2nd stage, so you don't even have a survivor who's dead on hook. And you're right, Jukebox needs to take a risk, but at the same time, the second Jukebox takes a risk, the survivors are going to get all of the gens done, because that's just how Eternal play. Jukebox was playing safe, they were doing gens. If Jukebox takes a risk, they're going to do gens. And you need to get someone out of the game, either just temporarily or permanently. You need to get something. Jukebox with the lunge doesn't quite reach anything, isn't able to make the connection and make Zaka go down. Things are looking rather rough for Jukebox right now. You have to get 9 hook stages, and time is not on your side. You see Royalty here doesn't quite get infected. Jukebox trying to go for round 2 with Zaka, trying to possibly get a hit through the window, and doesn't quite get it. Instead of gonna be chasing off Nightlight and Bubbazover. They make it to the pallet, but they don't even drop it, so they still have that bit of safety for the next time. Jukebox getting that bloodlust for a split second, gonna be able to get a little bit of extra distance towards this generator behind the main building. Jukebox needs to make something happen, but these survivors are just playing too well. Jukebox really struggling.
Yeah, this is the perfect example for a survivor team putting up the pressure, split into the generators, communicating early and effective. Royalty being ready for the generator here, and as soon as Jukebox is entering the main building for the chase with Ace, with Zaka and Royalty here, they are hopping back onto the generator, and it seems like I was saying for a second, it seems like Jukebox is giving up here, but then last second he's rotating back towards the generator. You need Nightlight down, but you also can't commit too much here. They are going to be on that generator, and now I think it is lost. Royalty is going to rotate over towards the generator at the hill there and is going to complete it. So this is potentially going to be the chase that leads us into the end game, and Jukebox is going to access the potential in end game with the power here, putting some pressure. There's Zaka completing generator number 5 really soon, keeping it on 99. So once again we are going to see an adrenaline play here, potentially from Bubazavre or Royalty, trying to move in, stun him out of the power here, and they can take another hit before the adrenaline play is coming through. This is Nightlight going down into the adrenaline play once again here. Just a few stages so far. Jukebox needs an entire turn of events, but with only one stack of No Way Out, that's also not the best additional timer.
Yeah, this has just been a masterclass from Eternal to end Modern Retro's season. The survivors playing incredibly well against the Plague here. Jukebox had great positioning and had some really good RNG on that 4-gen, but Eternal just did Eternal things. They were able to break it without much problem. Jukebox maybe could have played a little bit better in the early game, got that pressure starting a little bit sooner, possibly getting a kill early on, but unfortunately Eternal, they just played perfectly from start to finish, and there wasn't much Jukebox could do about it.
Yeah, that's the important thing here. If you give Eternal that space they had here, if you let them decide what is happening in the game, if you allow them to set up the pressure on your generators, there's a really, really small chance that you're going to pull back the control. So the early game was really the deciding factor here, not finding anyone. Remember, for example, Nightlight was really close to being caught on the edge map. If you do make that successfully on the killer side and have a quick down, that's going to be a whole different story here. Zaka might stay in the trial as he is already getting infected and has still quite a way to go. Nightlight being here as well as a little bit as a confusion. Zaka now fully infected, but are the survivors maybe leaving in time to give him the hatch? No, that's not going to be the case. Zaka is going down in shack. Maybe a last second firecracker play. Royalty with the sprint burst here, so they don't want to leave here, and that's understandable. Eternal wants to move fancy into the playoffs, so if we would see a last second play here and a save into a 4-man escape, I think that would be quite impressive.
Yeah, we do see Jukebox is going to grab that Corrupt Purge. It's a lot more dangerous for these survivors to stick around, 3 of them being injured. You cannot just sit here anymore, but it looks like, oh, I was going to say, it looks like the survivors might be moving in position to leave and give Zaka the hatch, but unfortunately Royalty still being forced into the trial. I mean, I know Eternal want to pad stats, but at what point do you just decide to leave? Seems like they're gonna, Jukebox is gonna go for the pickup, and Royalty is going to escape. It's gonna be the 3-man out. Another 4-stage game for Jukebox. And
Rough day.
yeah, it's an unfortunate note for Modern Retro to go out on, but this was their last game of this season.
And I feel a bit bad for Jukebox here, because on Killer's side it was really rough today. Obviously you're playing Eternal, but 4 stages both times is really, really rough, and not the performance we've seen from him. He was playing way stronger in the previous weeks, and I really hope he can focus on that, taking the confidence here. And then on the Survivor side, it was the Jukebox both times being caught early and not performing in the first seconds of the game that well. So for Jukebox, it's a difficult day today, same as for Modern Retro. So hopefully he finds a way to focus on the very nice performances he has shown throughout Season 7. We talked about it earlier, Will and me, when we were sitting here in the VC prior to the match. We said Jukebox is a really strong Plague. Jukebox has a lot of game sense, and he has proven that throughout Season 7. Today you had 4 very difficult trials. It's unfortunate that these 4 trials are also your goodbye from Season 7, but I think Modern Retro grew a lot in Season 7. They showed us amazing games, and I really hope they can focus on that positive side.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you are finishing 6th out of what was originally 12 teams. That is still a really good performance, and I believe Modern Retro coming in, they were ranked like 10th by the selection committee. So having that improvement of what was expected of them is still really good. And obviously you came out here, you showed that you know what you're doing. You picked up a few wins along the way. Not the best season, unfortunately, but you still came out, you played really well, you got a few wins, and most importantly, I believe they all had fun. So
yeah, that's what you can always see with Modern Retro, and that's what I like about them. They always play with fun and with so much dedication, and that's really what it's about here. But, Will, is there going to be an interview for us?
I believe we are going... I believe we are going to have an interview from Eternal, and I just want, before we head to that interview, I want to include what Brad said behind the scenes, our match staffer today, what he mentioned about Modern Retro, because it's a really nice point. They tried really hard and they played until the end, and they never gave up. Which, considering that we're down to 8 teams, just not giving up in one of our seasons and making it to the end is still a huge accomplishment, because it's tough. This isn't like your typical month-long tournament. We have been playing since the beginning of May. We are here early in July. We were supposed to go until like the beginning of August, but you have been here for such a long time, playing every single week against really good teams. It's really a true test of endurance as a team, and just getting this far and finishing not last is it's a statement of its own. So while this wasn't the best game for Modern Retro to go out on, they still played really well this season. Now Eternal, obviously today, they just showed why they are the best team. And I do think honing in on that playground, I do think they showed that they have learned how to deal with good Plague players, how to not make mistakes like on that killer.